Well, it's time now for a look at the international newspapers with our press reviewer, Florence Vimino, who joins me here in the studio. Now, Florence, we were talking about it in the news bulletin. Unrest in Egypt is getting a lot of attention in the international press today. And Gulf News says, perhaps agreeing with Mohamed Morsi, says the key to the crisis is dialogue.
That's right. Gulf News says dialogue is the solution to Egypt's problems. And it says that while the accountability of the government is important, the opposition must refrain from creating what it calls perpetual instability, because so far the opposition has refused to hold talks with Mohamed Morsi. But according to Gulf News, it's imperative that this dialogue be held and that the key issue of the constitution be discussed calmly among the government and the opposition, because if not, Egypt will once again slide into the chaos that it's just managed to get out of. Now, the International Herald Tribune is perhaps less optimistic about the possibility of a dialogue, and you see a cartoon here of Mohamed Morsi saying, we do have a balance of power. There's the president and there's God.
Yes, that is not quite so optimistic. But meanwhile, the UK paper, The Guardian, takes a look at what all of this means for the West.
That's right. The Guardian says that the West must learn from its mistakes. And it says, you know, a lot of Western countries didn't see the Arab Spring coming, but they really need to pay attention now. Though they were skeptical at first, except for Israel, a lot of Western countries came to see Morsi as the unifying figure that he said he was. But at the same time, given the current events, there's been this fear that's reawakened that Mohamed Morsi is in fact a front man for a Muslim Brotherhood conspiracy to impose Islamic law across Egypt and the region. And according to The Guardian, what the Western countries need to do is stand up and denounce Morsi's power grab, because they're also going to end up making the same mistakes as they did in the past of endorsing dictatorship. But unlike for Mubarak, Morsi is beyond their control.
Okay, well, we're going to move on to another story now, because last night, Thursday night, the US Senate voted to name and shame Russian officials who are involved in corruption. Tell us more.
That's right. This law is called the Magnitsky Law, and it forbids corrupt Russian officials from traveling to the US and investing there. Now, it's on the front page of the Independent today, and you see the title there, The US Starts a New Cold War Over the Magnitsky Affair. Now, Magnitsky was a Russian lawyer who was arrested while investigating fraud accusations against a U.S. fund called Hermitage Capital. He later died in prison after allegedly being beaten to death. Now, as you can imagine, this law has upset Russians, and in fact, the foreign minister said that apparently Washington has forgotten what year it is. The Independent also explores how this case is linked to another mysterious death of a Russian fugitive banker in England back in November. His name was Alexander Perepilichny, and he collapsed outside his home in Surrey after just going for a run. It turns out he was a supergrass who was providing evidence against corrupt Russian officials allegedly involved in a huge theft of Russian tax revenue. Now, it turns out that the dead lawyer actually had discovered this other fraud case. So that's how the two cases are linked. And in their editorial, the Independent says that Britain should pass its own Magnitsky Act, especially because London is such an attractive destination for wealthy Russians. And it says that Britain needs to take an equally tough approach as the United States.
An interesting option, perhaps. Moving on to Italy now. Silvio Berlusconi, who'd have thought it, could be about to make a comeback, apparently.
That's right. Now, this comes after his party refused twice to give a vote of confidence to Mario Monti. So it's on the front page of Il Giornale, which you must keep in mind is financed 80% by Berlusconi. They say that the return of Berlusconi, Monti is fired. Il Tempo, which is also another conservative right-wing newspaper, says Berlusconi could shake things up. Now, inside, he says the reason he's coming back is because everybody keeps asking him to come back.
Well, we will see. Watch this space with Berlusconi, you just never know. Meanwhile, Scotland is reeling after the European Commission confirmed that it'll have to reapply for EU membership.
That's right, and this goes against what Scotland's First Minister said. He said that since Scotland is already a member of the EU, it'll maintain it if it becomes independent. But that remains to be seen.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Florence, for that look at today's international newspapers.